Alrighty, team, welcome to the first episode of the Entrepreneur's Recession Response Program. From the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of the heart of everybody at the Entourage, from the bottom of my heart of Justin Dry, who has been kind enough to join us today, a huge well done on getting here and a huge welcome. In times of unprecedented change and unprecedented challenge, we need to remember that what the world is going through right now is first and foremost a health crisis. And our number one objective as human beings, who are all so deeply interconnected, needs to be to protect and look after those who are vulnerable and at risk of any health consequences that the current crisis demonstrates. Across the world, a lot of people and an increasing amount of people are rightfully asking themselves, given that this is a health crisis, what are the economic impacts at large? What are the commercial impacts? How do I navigate this period as a business owner? What does this mean for me as a person? What does it mean for me as a human? What does it mean for us at a society level? And in answering those questions, we're forcing ourselves to develop answers and develop new ways of thinking and develop elevated ways of being. The most challenging period of my life happened in 2016, where after growing 100% year on year in business since, founding the Entourage in 2010, we entered the government accreditation program delivering advanced diplomas and diplomas for entrepreneurs linked to government funding. And long story short, after the government pulled the funding with 3 months notice from the industry, we were 3 months away from a monthly loss of $800,000. We needed to go from a team of 90 down to a team of 40. We needed to redevelop our business model. We had no product suite that was going to come, extend beyond 3 months. And we weren't in a healthy cash position because a lot of the changes had been going on for so long in that particular space. We were in millions and millions and millions of dollars in debt, and has begun the most difficult 18 months of my life. What the Entrepreneur's Recession Response Program is about, me bringing all of my battle-tested, hard-earned experience to the table, but also reaching out to my network of some of the best business minds in the world so that we can talk to people who are battle tested, people that have real experience and people that have persevered and come out on top. What were the lessons they learned through their most challenging periods? What were the lessons they learned through adversity? And what can we draw on as human beings, not just business owners, but as human beings, to help each of us as individuals navigate this period and help each of us collectively to navigate this period. I am so incredibly grateful that our first guest today is the Mr. Justin Dry, who's been a long-term friend of mine, a long-term supporter of the Entourage. With the vino that I buy from Vinomofo, I suppose I've been a long-term supporter of Vinomofo as well. But for those of you that don't know Justin, aside from being an exceptional human being with an incredibly big heart and somebody who's truly humble and truly cares, Justin is the founder and CEO of Vinomofo. He's built it from 0 to 50 million in revenue. He's got a team of over 100 people across 3 countries. This guy is a serious entrepreneur that has been through some serious highs and some serious lows, and he's here today to have a discussion with me as we reflect on how we have navigated challenge, both personally and commercially, such that we can offer you guys some light in times where most of what we're seeing is darkness. Mr. Justin Dry, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, mate. Good to see you.
You too, man.
I haven't seen the view from your apartment. I can see the Sydney Harbour Bridge right there.
Yeah, correct. Oh, can you see it through Zoom, or which camera can you see?
I can see it through Zoom.
There you go.
I can see it through Zoom. That's nice.
Yeah.
I haven't been there, mate. Waiting for my invite.
100%. Well, our social gatherings have certainly diminished.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Absolute love and beauty and joy. Matisse has shown up. How's the last 3 months of fatherhood treated you?
Oh, it's incredible, actually. As everyone would know who's a parent, kind of completely changes everything. Yeah. I don't know which camera they look at. Jack, I've got your face everywhere.
Insta's good.
Insta.
Katie, looking at Insta or Zoom? Insta's good, man. Thank you.
Insta, all right, cool. Hello to everyone that's saying hello. Amazing. Complete change of life. No one can ever prepare you for it, even though you get lots of advice beforehand. And they say, there's going to be lack of sleep, and it's going to challenge you. And then what you realize is you just can't prepare for it, because it literally is very, very, very challenging, but also the most rewarding thing you'll ever do. So yeah, very happy. And she's been a remarkably good sleeper. And then she goes through moments, like a couple of days here and there, where it's like, I don't know, I'll get into it, like the devil child, and she's up every like 20 minutes, and I can see her just over there. She's
the entrepreneurial rebellion of her father.
Sorry?
That's when she invokes the entrepreneurial rebellion of her father.
Yeah, look, I think she's going to be a real character already. I think she's almost 4 months old, and she's so determined. Like, and she knows she's playing me. She's manipulative. She's completely playing me every day, and she just laughs. She laughs at me. I can see it. She looks at me. She plays like she's like, I don't want to go to bed yet. I'll just cry. And then as soon as she sees me, she's like, see, I got you, sucker.
She's got daddy wrapped around her little finger.
Yeah, exactly. So it's amazing.
So good. That's awesome, man. And huge love to both Matisse and Asher. It's amazing to see you guys build a family and to do it so well. Mate, let's talk about the current environment and everything that's going on in the world. If we really start at the top here, how are you seeing the current ecosystem? How are you viewing the current crisis at a high level? What's going on in your heart? What's going on in your mind?
Look, I think I'm at a place. You look, our business. I mean, it's completely changed the way we operate. In a matter of days, it went from, oh, this thing might be, coming in, might be really serious, to holy shit, this is really, really serious, to ever escalating. And there's just so much information out there, and you got to choose who you're listening to actually get the kind of accurate information. Everyone seems to be an expert, and I'm not going to claim to be. And so I just listened to a couple of the kind of main sources. And in terms of work, though, it's been crazy. So we had to fast track a whole bunch of dev to get our phone teams working from home. So we went from another phone system to a new one, which allowed all our team to kind of work from home outside of the phone team, which took 4 or 5 days to kind of build that out, which got an amazing engineering team, and they did that super fast for us. There's Matisse crying in the background. But everyone else was working from home. So the first thing we kind of got on top of was obviously social distancing, posters up on the wall, lots of hand sanitizer, lots of kind of communication open to the team about this is what we're thinking, experiencing. This is how best to deal with it in our mind. We're getting expert advice in. We've got we've got services available to our team to be able to talk to people if they're feeling anxious, because there's a whole lot, I'm sure you've witnessed this as well, there's a whole lot of anxiety in the world, and it's triggering kind of people that had little bits of anxiety kind of popping up in their life to almost fully blown. So you've got that part of it as well. You've got mental health challenges. And you've got working from home for everyone. You've got changing tech. You've got changing surge demand in some industries. People are obviously, toilet paper's one of them, and wine is actually another. People we've seen a real surge in wine sales as people. I think 2 reasons. One, you don't know where this is going to go in terms of what they're locking down completely. And second, people are spending more time at home away from restaurants and bars and clubs, and they still want to drink good wine. So it's kind of which is good for our business. It's challenging through all the things we need to do. Yeah. But then I feel conflicted, because at the same time, I've got a whole bunch of really great friends and family that have lost their businesses overnight. And these are really, really close to me, these people, and I see the pain that they're going through. And it's completely changed their life right now. And so so I'm in a weird place. I'm not really sure. It's completely changed the way we operate, but it's increased the number of sales quite dramatically for my business. And then on the other side, I've got all these people that I deeply care about hurting like you wouldn't believe. And so I don't know. It's a weird place to be.
I love how you put that, mate, and thank you for being so honest about what's going on for you and feeling so conflicted. But I love what you said in terms of, it went from being we might need to consider this, to being, okay, this is going to be a thing, to this is now, a global
pandemic and a global economic crisis that could be more fast spread than what we've ever seen before. I was talking to my partner Tiff just a couple of days ago, saying it was only just over 2 weeks ago we were in Perth. We were spending a week in Perth ahead of an event I was running there. And one of my board members, a guy called Stuart Cook, who took Zambrero from 2 stores to 100 stores, a very accomplished CEO and investor, reached out and said, I think we might need to put a plan in place around coronavirus and everything that's happening there. I was like, okay, I just, I was across it at that point. It was the beginning of the wave. And I thought, okay, I understand the health tragedy of it, but thinking about navigating it from a business perspective, I find that to be a bit intellectually interesting. So completely up for that. Let's do it. And then within 2 days, it was like, no, this is a real thing. And then 2 days later, it's like, okay, this is getting bigger than Ben-Hur. We sit here today and we just don't know how far stretching it's going to be. JD, one of the things I'd like to do is sort of talk about, and hone in on what's been the most challenging period of your career. And through discussion, sort of explore how you navigated that. While also drawing on, 2016 and other challenges that I've navigated and hopefully giving people that are watching, some real guidance on every level, be it commercial, emotional, personal, societal, around how to best navigate challenge and adversity for those that are being deeply impacted. And so, mate, if we start at the top, what has been the most challenging period of your career? I know there's been a couple of road bumps.
Look, the one that stands out, and the one I've talked about to you before personally, and probably with your community a little bit, but I'll touch on it again. It was back when I was. Long story short is like I was in the wine industry from really young age, and ended up uncles and whatever were in the industry and wrote some of the textbooks. I studied at uni and I was in the industry post university as well. And then I went and did a couple of other things, not sure whether it was like, a passion or profession, this wine game. And I was always like super entrepreneurial as a kid. Like I started my first business when I was 10. Then I did another one at like 14 and then I've had, I don't know how many businesses in my life, but a lot. And when I was about 23, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to get live and breathe wine for the rest of my life, whether it's just one of those things I'm super passionate about and maybe it's not like something that I want to be a professional at. I want to go and try something else. I want to start another business. So I left the wine game at 23, became a stockbroker. I was trading shares right about that kind of tech boom, kind of late 90s. So everything I touched turned to gold, which was nice. I was there in the early 2000s when it all crashed down too. So I didn't look as smart on the way down. But I did enjoy it and I was interested in the tech side. And it was something that I'd been interested in since I was a kid. So I think it was good to kind of test it out. I left that when all the screens were red back then. I'm not sure if it's how they operate these days, but I had a computer screen. It was an old, big, large desktop, and it was just green and red for the ones that were going up and down. And I was the first gen of being able to trade online, which was super cool. And so I left that when everything was red, and I was like, this is not fun anymore. And went and did property development. Did a couple of property developments, and I convinced a guy to sell me some land with very little money down, or actually no money down. I had like 20 grand in the bank. I bought 2 big parcels of land and with no money down. And I used a little bit of money I had to pay for some planning drawings being done. Lodged those for council, got them approved, pre-sold the first lot through an agent with no money down and no marketing. Did a land and build, sold 15 of them, made a lot of money. Then I did the next lot, which was 28 houses the next year, and made all this. I was making good money for a while there. And so there I was at I think it's 26, 26, 27, with lots of money. And I was thinking this game is pretty easy. And was, had the cars and the houses and the travel and all the stuff that you do and you spend your money on when you're young and silly. And then something happened. A family member got into some financial strife, asked me to go guarantor, or using one of my companies to go guarantor because I had about 6 properties in it. And it was one of those decisions that in my head I knew it was wrong, but in my heart I wanted to do it. I ended up saying, look, I wouldn't do it personally, but I'd do it through a company that had these assets in it, and that should get them through, because I wanted to bet on them to succeed. Fast forward a couple of weeks, the bank's got the docs up, and the docs listed me personally. I was kind of like, well, hold on, we didn't agree on this. And they said, oh, God, sorry, that's our mistake, that's our issue, we'll get them redrawn. And it'll just take 2 weeks and we'll be ready. But the problem was it was only about 48 hours until they were going to push the button on the other person. And I was so I had to make a decision in that moment. Did I risk everything personally and give this person who I love deeply an opportunity to get through it, or do I wait 2 weeks and let them fold? And so I decided to go with my heart, which was a very silly decision at the time. And I signed, and then 4 weeks later, it all came tumbling down. And I lost everything. So absolutely everything, because it was in my personal name. I lost everything. And it all kind of piled on top of each other. And by the end of that, I'd gone from having all the houses and the cars and the travel and the money and the fun to the last moment was walking out of my own house as the bank had sold it out from underneath me, and saying goodbye to that house. And that was kind of one of those I remember the day so well, because everything else had gone. Like, I'd handed back the car, the other houses had been sold, and for like ridiculously cheap prices, because it was in that moment where people were out looking for bargains, and so which was pretty painful to watch. But there I was, the last thing I had was a scooter because it was worth nothing, so that was my transport, and then this house. And then that, on the day of the settlement, the day I had to leave, so post the sale, I was saying goodbye to this house, and it meant so much to me, because when I was a kid, I came up in an entrepreneurial family, and I saw the highs and lows. And when I was 12, the family lost the founder house as well. So like, I'd seen that, and I'd seen it go down within my family. So positively out of that, it probably was one of the major drivers for me to never have that issue again for my family. So that's what probably got me the motivation to do all that stuff. And then in the end, through no fault of my own, apart from the stupidity of signing a contract that I knew I shouldn't have, it all came tumbling down again. And so there I was, saying goodbye to my house. And these things, when they happen, they don't happen quickly. It's like a pretty extended process of selling all your shit and getting to the point of finally leaving the last one. And so having gone through all of that, I was saying goodbye, and I was probably living a pretty average life in terms of health. I was probably partying too much. I wasn't looking after myself in terms of exercise. I was just trying to kind of get into the escapism that would get me away from thinking about my current situation. Because I was, I think I was almost 30 by then, and having lived such a high life, and to go down so low, I was living this life that wasn't probably healthy. And so here I was, unhealthy, miserable, really challenged every day emotionally, saying goodbye to the one thing that probably meant the most to me, to have this first home, which felt really special to buy. And then I was about to jump on this bloody scooter, which was the only other thing I did have left. So I'm walking through the house, saying goodbye to each bloody room. And I get to the final room, which is my bedroom. All the furniture's gone. And I get to my final room, which is the bedroom. And all that's left in that room is a wardrobe with a mirror. So I'm turning around, I'm saying goodbye, and I see myself in the mirror. I'm like, whoa, that's not a good look. I was not looking very good at that stage, and I was like, oh wow, this is where I've got to. And I remember when I looked in the mirror about this exercise that I'd done at, I think it was a Tony Robbins course. Say what you will about the man. There's, take what you will from it. There's some really good stuff and some stuff that, may not fit with how you feel about the world. But one of those things was, I can't remember what it's called, and I never can, and I should look it up. But it's like some kind of man in the mirror exercise, or that might be the poem that he read. But the thing is, you look into a mirror, you imagine yourself living the life that you're currently living right now in 1, 3, 5, 10, 20 years. And so I did that, and then you reverse it and you do it if you changed and made better decisions and what that would look like in the same kind of time period. So I did that exercise, and, living such an unhealthy life in 1 year, in front of the mirror, you're like starting to get smaller. Then 3 years, 5 years, it starts getting really heavy. You start getting really small and feeling awful. By the time you've got to 20 years, you're like a ball on the ground and crying. That's how bad it is, because I was in pretty bad shape, and to then go to that degree, wow, incredible. And so then you go, whoop, reverse it up, and you go, all right, so if I make good decisions and I get back in the game and I do all the things you need to do mentally, like meditation, exercise, reading the right kind of statements in the morning, thinking about where you actually want to go and having a plan and taking a step by step, all those things that you do. And so I did that. And so at 1 year, and then I'm like up, and then 3 years, I'm getting even better. And 5 and 10, my head's up, my shoulders are back, I'm feeling amazing. And so there, by 20, I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this. Let's take on the world. I'm rushing out of the house, and then I see my scooter. I'm like, yes, cool. And then another lesson that we, another kind of trick was to pretend you're wearing a Superman cape, which is, it changes the way you walk and the way you stand. And when you do that, it changes completely how you feel. And so I was like, great. So I'm like running out of the house, like happy as I could be, wearing a Superman cape, and jump on a scooter, and I'm like, I'm going to take on the world. And off I go on my scooter. I pull up at some traffic lights. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, and pull up to traffic lights. Up beside me, it's got like a family in it and a little kid in the back. And he turns around, points to me, and chats to his parents. It's like, as I'm getting drenched on my scooter, no assets, just left the house. I'm like, this is my lowest point. I'm like, all right, everything's got to be up from here. And so that was
good decision.
Yeah, that was my moment, and that was the start of, I guess, me getting back in the game. And over the next 4 or 5 years, I launched 4 other businesses online, and the fourth one was Vinomofo.
Right. Wow. Man, I don't know if we've ever gone into this that deeply. There are so many parallels between yours and my story. So when I was, 7, 8, 9 or whatever, my parents ran a not-for-profit organisation called Breaking the Cycle, right? So they take long-term unemployed youth, like youth at risk, off the street. They put them through programs and then put them into employment. They were the best what they did in the country. The government then pulled the funding they were not-for-profit. So the government pulled the funding. They had no more funding. And so the organisation collapsed. We lost our family home. We lost everything, sell the cars, sell everything, lose everything, right? And so at the age of, 8 or 9 or 10, that was my reality. It was like complete financial and economic ruin, and seeing the impact that had on the family. And a couple of years later, mum and dad separated. And so it was the beginning of a lot of splintering. And inevitably, given it's such a developmental period when you're young, inevitably that you carry that with you. And so you had a similar thing, and then, you lost your house around, just before you were 30. So my mum and dad ran a company that had government money pulled from them. And that's exactly what happened with Entourage in 2016. I went into accredited education, which enables students to access government funding. And then the government stopped paying everybody for 6 months. And so for us, that was a cash lag of about $6 million. And then they pulled the funding with 3 months notice on the industry. And so we're 3 months away from a monthly loss of $800,000. And so much of my drive was coming from my mum and dad's organisation was called Breaking the Cycle. And I was like, I need to break this cycle in my family of the government making really irrational, unintelligent decisions and destroying beautiful organisations. And so for me, it was like failure wasn't an option. I wasn't going to let that happen again. Right. And so, and that's where so much of my fight and so much of my will, I think, came from, was just didn't want to go through that again.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful experience. You wouldn't wish it on anyone, exactly. But it's also one of those things that has influenced me so much in everything I've done. And ask my wife, and she'd say sometimes not like great things have come from that. And, but a lot of good stuff has, my drive, no one will outwork me, I will work hard and I will do whatever it takes in terms of energy and effort to get it done. So that's come from that because I've just got that in me because of that experience, I think. I'm not sure if it was in my DNA or whether that's just me going, nah, I'm not letting that happen. But it's definitely influenced me in a good way. There's other things around that in terms of like if that I wouldn't say is a super positive thing in the sense that like I do find it challenging when people don't work for it. I am quite judgmental when people want it easy, or when I perceive them to wanting it easy. So that's probably, my wife would probably tell you that that's one of those things that really bugs me, but that's
not such a bad thing.
I never got it easy,
100%. And I mean, in my introductions, I mentioned, one of the things, because there are many, but one of the things that I love most about you is there is a genuine humility to who you are. It's not a false humility for the sake of pretending to be humble. You are a genuinely feet on the ground humble person. And how I kind of view those sorts of things is, I think when it comes easy, people can start to build a sort of false sense of superiority and a bit of an arrogance and all of that sort of stuff. Whereas what I often kind of observe in super successful people that have had a couple of knocks along the way and maybe had a bit of adversity in their childhood and all of that sort of stuff, there is a genuine humility there. And if anything, I think that adds to their success later in life.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I lost you a little bit there for a second. I think my earphones might be playing up, unfortunately. But
my next question was, so you're sort of coming up to 30, you've got all of the money and in your late 20s. So for me, because at the same time, late 20s, there was a huge sense of arrogance because it had come easy to me up until then. And so I imagine it might have been the same in your world. I can imagine, late 20s, lots of money, probably a bit of partying, probably, maybe a bit of arrogance. This is all just stuff I'm assuming, by the way. But and then you lose everything, and there's a complete destruction of everything that you've built, and even a complete destruction of self-identity that can often be so tied up in success, particularly at that age. What was the most challenging part of the fall for you?
What was the most challenging part of the fall? Honestly, look, I think probably the hardest thing to deal with was a sense of my sense of like self-worth in that moment, and probably I think our judgment or how we perceive ourselves in the eyes of others. You forget that when you're older. Like you don't really care as much when you've gone through stuff. Like I just, because it's all nice and well when everything's lovely and people are saying nice things about you, but we all have to go through periods of time when they're not going to. If you've got any level of success, you're just going to face it. So that's the things. So if you get caught up too much in it, can influence you, and too much for the negative as well. So I think probably when I was younger and I'd had all that, I was still, to be honest, I think I was still reasonably humble in my 20s because of the shit I saw when I was a kid and how much that impacted me. But I had a tremendous amount of drive at it. What I did think that I got a little bit cocky on was how easy you could get success. Yeah. Because I was like, no, this actually wasn't that hard. I just did this and this and this, and look at me now. And then losing it all, and then having 2 or 3 ventures that didn't work out as planned. That's very leveling.
Yeah,
it's very leveling.
Yeah.
And so I know also, and for how many people I know that have done so well in their lives, and I'm sure you know a heap of them too. It wasn't their first rodeo. Like it's like they have had so many different businesses and challenges, and so it's just not one of those things that happens. You've got to be very, very lucky to get on a run, first or second attempt. It's rare. It's very rare, and it's even more rare to be one of the like unicorns out of that run. You know, so that's like people see the successes of these people around us that are kind of celebrated, and they go, "Oh, that that's doable. That's easy. My chance. I've got a really good chance of that." That's really hard. It is really hard to do. I mean, work your bum off and give yourself the best opportunity. But the difference between being mildly successful and wildly successful is a lot of luck involved.
I love the way you said that. The difference between being mildly successful and wildly successful, there's a lot of luck involved. I could not agree more. Mate, I want to talk to you during that period. I want to talk about shame, because one of the things that happened with me was, particularly because my success had been relatively public and you're on all of the lists and
worst thing in the world to ever be on those lists.
Worst thing in the world. Yeah. If I speak for myself, my identity was so tied up in the image, that having the business threatened and everything else that comes with that, the shame that I would feel inside would fucking tear me apart.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go with shame? Was that a big factor for you?
It was. I think particularly through that period, because I was also a bit younger. I think there's one of these things, and I try and kind of make sure and communicate these things to my team too when I can, or when it's one-on-one kind of coaching or mentoring. It's like the reality is, like, we are always going to face these huge challenges, but what you have to do to get through them makes you a far stronger person. It's like, that whole kind of circle is like, it's always outside the circle, and as you achieve those and do those things that are necessary, your circle expands. And the things that would have killed me 10 years ago, water off a duck's back now. And so I think it's just one of those things, as you face more, you get better at dealing with it. And I see people with such anxiety over such little things. And I completely understand it because I was there, but there's nothing that prepares you for it than actually going through it. Like you just have to do it. Yeah, you have to do 100%. It. You have to go through it to actually experience it. And there's a real ability to deal with things that comes from experience, and it's 100%. The only way to do experience is experience it.
I think a huge component of that, one of the things that I learned, and it was a grueling learning process, probably from 2016 to probably 2018, was learning to practice non-attachment. I had so many attachments to the business going exactly the way that I wanted to, and to the brand going exactly the way I wanted it to, and to upholding a certain image and all of that sort of stuff. Whereas if we take this current crisis, for example, I got 3 texts from my team this morning saying, I haven't seen you so energized in a long time. You seem so positive, because it's exactly what you're saying. It's the periods of our greatest challenge are the periods of our greatest growth, and it's where we develop the capabilities and the characteristics that were previously undeveloped. And that prepares us for future challenge, right? Moving through challenge is a skill. And I see so much of what's going on at the moment. This is a global lesson in uncertainty. This is a global lesson in how to navigate challenge, right? Which is another reason I'm so excited to have these conversations with people like you, because I think it's a conversation that more people will be having as a result of what's going on around the world right now.
Yeah, it's completely changed. It's completely changed the landscape, and people are, one of the interesting things around this is it's forcing businesses and people into a couple of things. One, facing some very scary fears, but 2, working from home. Like, this is big. We've been talking about this for a long, long time. We talk about freedom and ability to be able to do this. The reality is my team is getting more done now than they get done in the office, and they are scattered all over the country, mostly in Melbourne, but all over the country. And the way that they are coming together in this time is unbelievable. I'm loving all my Zoom meetings. and the positivity and energy and drive that's coming in, and I think that's almost a big part of that is the freedom to be able to work in a way without the pressures of having to be seen to be working in a particular way. So they're getting the work done, and they're doing a remarkably amazing job in their own way. And so it's kind of like fast forward this whole movement to working from anywhere in the world or working from home. So I'm super excited about it. I know a lot of business people are scared because they're like, what if my people don't work? And it's like, trust them to do it and deal with the issues if it comes. You know, it's like, let's go, let's try it. And it's amazing the response that we're getting. You know, our team are incredibly productive doing what we're doing at the moment. So I'm really kind of impressed and proud.
100%. Necessity is the mother of innovation, right? And so it's incredible to see the gifts that come out of any adverse period. If we go back to your challenging time, you know, between 27 and 30, and really hone in on that. I mean, people often ask me, what was the positive side of 2016 and 17? You know, what did you learn from it? What did you grow from it? And I'm like, where do I start? Like, I became more humble. I became more grounded. I was able to shed the inessential. I became a better son. I became a more caring person. I became a better CEO. I became a better manager, a better leader, a better entrepreneur. I became wiser, particularly around financial management. Developed capability around risk management. Like, I could literally, and I might do this one weekend, there would be thousands of lessons. What are the core gifts as you kind of sit here in your position today with all of the success that you've rightfully created over the last period of your life? What do you think the greatest gifts were for you from that period of your late 20s and the adversity?
I think probably I'm about to lose my bloody earphones. Hold on a second.
That's right.
Hey, Ash, do you have other earphones I can use? Sorry.
Sorry,
You're sitting in the background looking after my daughter. I'm like, I'm about to...
Say hello to her for me.
Yeah, Jack says hello.
Hi, Jack.
Hey, Asha.
Yeah, I've got the Apple ones. Sorry, I'll let her look for those as it's running out quickly.
Time, yeah, rock and roll.
But so lessons would have been gifts. Sorry, gifts. Lessons. Gifts would have been. Look, I think the understanding and the realization that I needed to understand how my mind worked and kind of get on top of that in terms of like going, when do I get anxious? When do I spiral? How do I get out of it? How do I not attach myself to those thoughts? Meditation became a really big thing. And meditation was the greatest lesson I got out of meditating, you know, apart from the fact that it helped me separate my days in terms of like work time, home time. I could come home, meditate, get into a really cool space, and then I'd be a much different experience with Ash, you know, say when I got home. But what it also did was, when I meditate, the challenge is you don't attach to the thoughts as they're coming through. So you're letting them slide on by. So the ability to not grab hold of and go down that path with meditation can be brought back into so many things in your life. So when everything's coming at you a million miles an hour and there's problems and issues and fires, to sit there and be able to let them slide on past and go, I'm not going to grab hold of that, and I'm not going to go into the depths of anxiety that can be built around those things. That was really powerful. I guess on another thing it did is made me realize how important family was as well to me. So actually, Ash has just got the earphones. This is a beautiful thing. Give me 30 seconds. No, give me 3 seconds.
Insta, let us know in the comments below. What questions do you guys have for Justin? I can see coming up on the screen. So let us know any questions, guys. We'll move to them in a sec. Welcome on, mate.
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you, Ash. Yes, you're welcome.
We heard it.
Yeah, you heard her? Yeah. The Queen. Yeah. What was I say? And so probably the second thing that I touched on before was family. I didn't. What I didn't say through that period was not only did I go through all those things, but one of the other things that was contributing to the challenges I was having at that time was my mum got sick with cancer, and so. Yeah, so like on top of all those other things, she got sick with cancer. Yeah, and so that was awful. I had to go through chemo, and she's happy and alive, and that's amazing. But just all of that, and then removing all the unnecessary stuff and starting again and getting my head right, and realizing that how important the people I care about are to me, and placing far more focus on those things was one of the great kind of lessons I got out of that part of my life.
Mm. One of my favorite quotes from J.K. Rowling is, rock bottom became the solid foundation upon which I built my life.
That's a great quote. Yeah.
So true for me as well. Mate, you're somebody that's been so actively engaged in personal and spiritual development forever. You've touched on some of the rituals and even, practicing non-attachment thinking that you mentioned a moment ago. What are some of the rituals you maintain today to help you remain centered and grounded through both the highs, where it's important to remain centered and grounded, and also the lows?
Meditation is obviously there. I wish I was like a yogi style kind of Buddhist monk style meditator, but I'm a super quick one. So I'm like 5 minutes, just to kind of get grounded. But I try and do that daily. Exercise is super important. I have statements up on my bathroom mirror, which talks about the type of person I want to become, the type of husband I want to be, the type of father I want to be, and a whole bunch of things around what's important and what isn't, to be present and live in the now and experience that life that way. So I've got the statements, I've got meditation, I've got a little bit of exercise. I do some breathing exercises when I'm going through more stressful periods, and really simple stuff. There's 6 exercises that you can do, and getting both right and left brain working together, but in a much more centered kind of calm way. So that would probably be the keys. I love going to the gym. Unfortunately, I can't go to the gym anymore. So I'm trying to do things at home, which is a little bit different. Yeah. But I think the thing that I value so much now, because there's so much intensity in my life and business and, new baby, and is just those moments where you have that little bit of time, by yourself, to yourself, to just chill. I never would have thought that was so important in my life, but those moments, whether that's just at the gym or whether that's meditating, they're really important to kind of ground me. And you don't get those often, and Ash would probably agree that she would like way more of that herself. But I'm annoying like that, so yeah.
Scarlet Shoe says experience, the number one thing you get the minute after you need it. So true. From learning through trial and error is the lesson always comes after the mistake. Good. Insta, let us know if you have any questions for the great man JD and myself that you would like us to touch on. Rosie Glow says, thank you for sharing your honest story. TWO57 says, thanks for doing this, guys. No worries, TW57. Nathan Rowe, Director of Paramount Liquor, says, Nathan Rowe, Director of Paramount Liquor here. Would love to help out with deliveries where possible in order to get some of our 250 people that were stood down this week back into work.
250 stood down. That's incredible. Our deliveries are done through Australia Post. The people that are actually working harder than anyone at the moment at our place is our warehouse team, just keeping up with everyone. So we've been adding casual labour to that at the moment. But so yeah, reach out and we'll see. But the delivery side is covered.
Curtis Dean Harrier says, how much of your ability to get through that was pure belief and connection with your vision versus action? Interesting question here, JD. How do you reconcile and resolve? Because I know this is something I was trying to sort of build a mental model and an understanding around for a few years back. How do you resolve sort of in a game and ensuring that you're grounded and centered and you maintaining belief without a game and taking the right and intelligent action?
I think for me, it starts with I need to know where I'm going first. But I'm one of those people that just loves to do the whiteboard sessions, and I can dream a little bit too long. So a big part of my kind of learnings have been that do it, dream it, work it out, play it in your time frames, step by step, bring it back, and then get it done. And so action, like progress over perfection, get it done is so key. But I actually do think it starts first and foremost with where do I want to go, when do I want to get there, and how am I going to get there? That's like step one, and then the action is absolutely important. So running a million miles an hour in the wrong direction gets you nowhere. It's like you got to be running in the right direction. So you got to work out what that direction is first. Just don't sit and dream all day, because us entrepreneurial thinkers have a tendency to do that.
Do a lot of that. 100%. Cushy Kid says, keep up the great work. We all need wine right now. Need being in capitals.
I hear you. I hear Ash was trying to... Sorry, mate, you go.
I was talking to my membership group earlier on a Facebook Live, our Entourage members, and I was saying just the importance of, try not to get into, the habit of too much emotional eating and emotional drinking during this time. And then later on I said, guys, having a glass of wine or two is okay. And I got bombarded with comments going, oh, thank God. We thought we were saying not to do this.
No. Ash was making lunch before, and she was trying to suggest that we open a bottle of wine now. I'm like, but I probably will. Let's be honest.
Great strategy. Oliver Shimon is asking a great question. It kind of comes back to something you were saying a moment ago, JD. Do you two see COVID-19 as a catalyst for change regarding flexible working?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think it's going to accelerate it. It's one of those things that you could never have predicted. I mean, although Bill Gates had a great talk about what was coming in terms of pandemics, which is amazing, which I saw again the other day. I saw it back then and I was like, yeah, that's interesting. And I saw it recently and I was like, wow, spot on. But no, I think this is one of those moments. It's a huge moment, and I think it's going to change a lot of things. Where the economy ends up is anyone's guess right now, but it's not going to be good, and it's not going to be short term, obviously. So that's going to create some challenges, but also some opportunities. This is one of the things I was saying to my ELT, so my executives this morning. And I was like, before the meeting, I was trying to kind of get out of my normal way of thinking, because in this kind of environment, you're like, if your business is surging, you're like, what are the opportunities within the surge to kind of make the most of this in that moment? If it's going the other way, you're like, what are the things I can do to pivot, change, whatever in my business to survive or to thrive in another way? And so then I was seeing that, I was like, you have to. This is one of those moments also that you have to start thinking completely different. There is a bunch of opportunities that are going to pop up in this moment, in the next kind of 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, that are going to blow the world away, and if you can get outside of your normal frame and think about that, and that's whiteboard sessions, and that's going, all right, if I didn't think the way I was thinking, if I didn't think about it in terms of the business I'm in, or I didn't think about it in my own kind of environment and the people I know in my networks, what does this present itself in terms of opportunities? And I think that's a really interesting thing to play around with, because, if you talk about the companies that came out of the last recession, pretty impressive bunch. And so I think this is big. This is a huge shift. And, the obvious ones are the work from home, remote working, of course, but there's a bunch others that we're not thinking about. Someone is, but we're not thinking about right now that we could. So I'm kind of looking forward to the opportunity to sit in front of a whiteboard and waste a few days.
Absolutely. I love how you put that. If I didn't think the way I habitually think, what would I be thinking, right? If I was to get outside of the usual parameters in which I explore myself and the world, what would I be thinking that I'm not yet thinking? That is absolutely genius and such a beautiful way to self-reflect. JD, mate, you are an absolute legend. We appreciate you coming on for our first episode of the Entrepreneurs Recession Response Program. You're somebody that's navigated challenge. You're somebody that's navigated success, which does require navigation, no different to challenge in and of itself. To see you building a successful business, building a beautiful, successful family, is a light and an inspiration that I'm sure a lot of people will be drawing inspiration from right now. So, mate, thank you so much for coming on board.
Thanks for having me again, mate. It's been good catching up. We've got to do it in real life soon when we can.
100%. And we will be cracking a bottle of wine for that meeting. I can guarantee our viewers of that.
I've got the wine fridge is just there.
That's twice the size of mine.
The wine fridge is just there, and it's got plenty of Barolo and Barbaresco in it waiting for us.
You know the way to my heart. He's talking Barolo.
Oh, amazing. Now, team, this is episode 1. We will be coming back with another episode of the Entrepreneurs Recession Response Program later this week. We're going to be talking to other individuals like Justin Dry, some of the best entrepreneurs in the world, honing in on the challenges they've faced, how they've navigated these periods, and how they have come out on top, the gifts and the lessons they've learned along the journey. This is to shine a light for you guys during a period where the world needs exactly that. So stay tuned. This is an ongoing conversation. JD, you're an absolute legend, brother. I look forward to seeing you soon. Catch you, mate. Ciao.